Thanks, Riaz. Good morning. Hot on the heels of slapping tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber, U.S. President Donald Trump is now threatening our country's dairy industry. The president took to Twitter this morning saying Canada has made business for our dairy farmers in Wisconsin and other border states very difficult. We will not stand for this. Watch. Trump's complaints about Canada are a dramatic shift from mid-February. That's when he assured Prime Minister Justin Trudeau in person that he only wanted to tweak trade agreements. President Trump has expressed a desire to get tough on trade. The federal government is expressing major disappointment with the Trump administration's plan to impose duties on Canadian softwood lumber imports. Those duties could be somewhere in the range of 20% for any lumber heading south of the border, and it would be collected retroactively for the previous 90 days. The Trudeau government is calling the move unfair, baseless, and unfounded, and it's promising some sort of help for the lumber industry. Meanwhile, Christy Clark is vowing to fight the new tariffs. She's expected to address the issue in more detail today. Throughout her campaign, Clark has said her party is the only one that can secure a fair deal in softwood lumber negotiations.
We know the BC NDP have turned their backs on BC forest industry. They have turned their backs on BC forest workers. John Horgan's position on the softwood lumber dispute, he summed it up by saying, good luck with that. He has already given up on the forest industry without even trying.
NDP leader John Horgan also spent Monday focusing his campaign on the province's forestry sector. He says the Liberals have put thousands of jobs at risk by failing to get a softwood lumber deal with the United States.
3 of the top 5 U.S. forest companies have given over $2 million to the BC Liberals. And while they've been doing that, they've been closing mills right across British Columbia. And it's about to get worse. Tomorrow, the U.S. government will announce what types of duties the U.S. Commerce Department will impose on our softwood lumber industry, and it's going to drive other people out of work.
The BC Green Party released its full platform yesterday and plans to run a deficit of $146 million for its first full year in office. But by increasing the carbon tax for 4 years starting in 2018, the party says it'll bring in an additional $1.7 billion. The Greens say the central pillar of their strategy is putting a price on carbon that will reduce the use of fossil fuels. 2 people have been seriously injured after a massive apartment fire in the Metrotown area of Burnaby last night. Crews were called to a complex on McMurray Avenue near Grange Street just after 9 o'clock. When they got there, huge flames were seen shooting from a balcony on the 7th floor. 2 people needed to be rescued from inside the building. Both of them were burned, and one of them is believed to be in critical condition. Dozens of people who live in the building have been forced from their homes. The cause of the fire remains under investigation. More details are expected to come out later today after a man's body was found in Richmond. Police were called to Terra Nova Park on River Road early yesterday morning. Homicide investigators believe the man was a victim of a targeted attack. The body was found next to a children's park and the Terra Nova Nature School. New Westminster police have made a major fentanyl seizure after a coordinated investigation over several months. Officers seized about $300,000 worth of heroin laced with fentanyl and pure fentanyl. Several firearms, vehicles, and cash were also confiscated after police executed search warrants in Surrey and New Westminster. The investigation involves several police agencies and the Canadian Border Services Agency. Police will be recommending several charges against a number of people.
We're part of a multi-pronged approach in trying to stop this opioid crisis in the province. And as you can see from the large number of drugs that we seized, as well as the firearms that we seized, this poses a high risk to the public, to public safety, and we want to get out in front of it.
Dozens of animals have been seized from a breeder near Lillooet. The BC SPCA says in total 24 small dogs and 6 cats were removed during 2 visits to the property this month, and it's believed all of them were living in filthy conditions. All of the animals are now being cared for at the SPCA's shelters in Kamloops and Kelowna.
There were untreated medical conditions, severe dental disease, matting. This was a situation where hopefully the new legislation that has now recently been introduced that governs dog and cat breeders, or will govern dog and cat breeders in BC, will make sure that these types of situations don't happen in the future.
Meantime, the owner of 17 animals that were seized from a Langley property back in March continues to appeal the action taken by the SPCA. The animals have not been returned to the woman. A hearing is now heading to the Farm Industry Review Board, and an update could be coming next month. The owner in question was also the subject of a raid back in September where 88 dogs, cats, and farm animals were taken from the property. Former U.S. President Barack Obama has made his first public appearance since leaving the White House.
So, what's been going on while I've been gone?
Obama had a very candid conversation with the audience while speaking at the University of Chicago yesterday. He reflected on the political divide in America and the media. He even discussed the fact that he smoked marijuana as a teenager. Obama encouraged the younger generation to get involved in American democracy.
We have some of the lowest voting rates of any advanced democracy, and low participation rates then translate into a further gap between who's governing us and what we believe. The only folks who are going to be able to solve that problem are going to be young